Hi, this is Shannon from ClearPath, and today I'm going to do a quick demo on a couple other features we have in the diagnosis capability. This is a follow-on video to several others that we have created related to navigational tips and diagnosing. So it makes a lot of sense to review those videos before going to this one because I'm going to skip through some of the precursor steps to diagnosis. But the first step is to log into the application. So I'm going to log in as my demo user today and click the login button. And this will populate my unprocessed cases list. So from here, I'm going to select my first unprocessed case, and it brings up the case details view. We've already discussed this view in detail in other videos, so I'm just going to select the first slide to view the image. I'm going to navigate through and review the image in preparation for diagnosis. And let's assume that I know exactly what is going on with this specimen, so I'm going to click the Diagnose button. This brings up my list of diagnoses that were pre-populated. I'll go through my list and I realize that the diagnosis that I want for this case is not in my list. So the next step would be to use the Add Custom Diagnosis button at the top right. And so I click on Add Custom Diagnosis, and it gives me several fields to populate. So if you don't know what to put into these fields, click on the little I and it'll give you some information regarding what that field is used for. This diagnosis code is an alphabetical identifier that is abbreviated. So if it's basal cell carcinoma and you want to refer to it as BCC, if you want to search, you can search by BCC and it'll bring it up because it exists in this diagnosis code. I'm going to create a diagnosis code for this. And then diagnosis name is also related to the search and is simply the diagnosis formally that how you would refer to it. If I click on the I, it really explains that. Now the diagnosis text is what populates in your results report that gets printed out. So this is where you want to be as formal as possible with what you want to print out on your report. If it matches the same as the diagnosis name, that is completely fine as well. Microtext you can populate with whatever you like for that diagnosis related to the microtext. And if you wanted to add a note at this point, you could, though typically that is done during the diagnosis process and not part of a standard diagnosis. So I've now added populated the fields. The only three fields that are required are the diagnosis code, the diagnosis name, and the diagnosis text. I can click OK at this point, and a pop-up box will appear that asks me if I'd like to add this diagnosis to the list. By adding it to the list, it makes it available for you to use with other cases. If you say no, then this would be a one-time population of this diagnosis into the report in the case that you have open currently. I'm going to select yes. Now you'll see that cherry angioma is listed as my diagnosis. If I wanted to add a note at this point, I could have added it earlier, but if I had selected yes, then that note would appear on every single one of my cases. Because the note is sometimes case specific, I could edit the diagnosis here and put in diagnostic note and click OK. So now I have my diagnosis selected, and if I were to edit the diagnosis one more time, you could see that cherry angioma is now listed in my list of diagnoses to select from. I'm going to cancel out of here. Click OK. And to complete this case, I simply hit the complete button. So that is how you diagnose a case with adding a custom diagnosis on the fly. So thank you for watching and have a great day.